was recently handed down the beautiful handmade cedar strip solo canoe that I watched my father build in the late 1980s. A decade later, he had moved to northwestern Montana and had eventually come to the conclusion that it wasn't getting much use in the mountains, and that with his son, me, living adjacent to Minnesota's Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness, the handcrafted boat that he named Memegwezi would feel more at home here. Growing up in and around the Boundary Waters, I have extensive experience canoe camping in both Minnesota and Canada, but always with a group. This time things would be different. So after a test paddle in the nearby St. Louis River to get the feel of the canoe, I set off for my first solo canoe camping experience in the Minnesota wilderness. My destination, Brule Lake, is the largest lake in the Arrowhead region of Minnesota. It's only a handful of miles from Canada, situated between Misqua Hills and Eagle Mountain, the two highest points in the state. Brule is 8 miles long east to west and over a mile north to south. I had camped on Brule before and had explored most of the lake. Typical of the lakes in the Boundary Waters, Brule is home to loons, moose, black bear, gray wolves, beaver, and the other creatures of the northern wilderness. After paddling nearly the entire shoreline of the eastern half of the lake, I settled on a familiar campsite where I had stayed a few years ago with my father, my sister, and my eldest son. Well, here I am. Same site as a couple years ago. There's the big tree with the ichneumon flies where we hung the food. Hanging the food there again. I got my rope up already. New tent. Put it in the spot where Dad was last time. There's the campfire. Right now it's just a stove. I'm heating up water for some chicken Alfredo. And we've got the path back to the latrine. And let's go down to the water. You can see camp there behind me. Don't know if there's any Spideys living in here this year. There it is. All right. Welcome to North Bay. I'm the only one in the bay as far as I know. The rest of the lake was pretty busy. First I went through the Narrows and then cut up to Brule Island where Zach and I had stayed before, and that was taken. So I went back into Brule Bay, way over on the east end of the lake, and there were 2 sites available there, but they were the 2 crappy ones. The good ones were all taken, so I decided to take a risk and head over to North Bay at 2 o'clock, 2:30 in the afternoon. And I'm glad I did. I got here and there's nobody else in the bay at all. And I got our awesome site from before. Maybe I'll have that pine marten visit again. That would be kind of cool. And then tomorrow's supposed to be nice and sunny and a good day for fishing. So, I'm gonna wait for my water to boil and then have some dinner. See ya. All right, checking in on the first evening. It's beautiful and still out here, but the mosquitoes are moderate. I think if it stays this still, it's gonna be a rough night for mosquitoes. All right. Another day on the water. It's beautiful today. Probably about 70 degrees. Sunny, calm. See if we can catch some fish. It's a gorgeous day. Stable flies are everywhere, but I've gotten very few bites. I'm just sitting here enjoying a camp lunch. Crackers, cheese, salami, apples. And then maybe I'll go check out Echo Lake this afternoon and see if there are any fish biting there. Only got 2 small bass this morning here in the bay. I think July, just with the warm water, it isn't very good fishing, especially close to shore. The fish go deeper to stay in cooler water. I figured right after the rain it'd be good, but very, very little so far. Just some small bass. Hooked into a pike yesterday, but that was one of the ones that took my lure. But I could tell by the way it fought that it was definitely a pike. We'll see what Echo has to offer. And I've hiked out probably halfway across the bay, and look at the elevation gain. Camp is off to the right there somewhere. I can see the Narrows right there in the distance. And this still goes up. It's a rocky, tough hike, but somewhere up there, it's probably an amazing view. So I'm gonna go see if I can find it. Well, I made it to the top. Look at the view. That's all North Bay right out in front of me. You can see the Narrows over there. North Bay continues a little bit over that way, but not much. That right there is the tail section, if you look at what the fish looks like. And down in front of it here, that is the campsite. So I have made it a long way. Took a lot of walking, some mild rock climbing, but I am here. And this is the rock I found that overlooks everything. Through the tree there, I can see another part of the lake. There's a bay there that leads up to Lily Lake, and I can't remember the name of the other one. But that's the entrance to the bay. And then it leads up to the right, behind this tree, to a couple smaller lakes. I can probably almost see, I bet you, that might be where my truck is, right in the middle there. Okay, so what I pointed out earlier that I thought was the entry point, that light spot there right in the middle next to that tree in the foreground, just to the left of the tree, that's actually the first campsite through the Narrows. If you go over further to the right, I see this tiny little island right in the middle of the screen now. That island, after you go past that island, you make a sharp left, and that is the put-in point. That is the entry point 41, and I can see it from the other side of Brule Lake, up high on this mountain. That's where I'll be tomorrow. But for now, I got to get back down here to camp, which is there. That should be fun. Found this guy up at the summit in the dry brush. Might put him in a place that's a little more moist. Beautiful tree frog. Look at his little suction cups. Hey, buddy. Let's put you somewhere a little more moisture. There you go. Cutie. Okay, I'm back at camp, and I want to show you where I came from. I'm standing in the spot that I pointed out was camp when I was at the summit, and from camp, around the bay, up the hill, that's the rocks I was standing on, way up there. And I could see all the way back to the entry point. Hell of a hike. All the way around the bay and then pretty much straight up. A little rock climbing, but nothing I couldn't handle. But it was amazing. It's pretty cool. Brule Lake is pretty tall. It's almost the highest point in Minnesota. Eagle Mountain is nearby. So, you can see the whole state from here. Just about. Eagle Mountain's off to the east somewhere. But I'm back at camp here. Gonna rest a little bit. I took a cool dip. And I'm thinking about heading for Echo Lake next. So, see how that goes. I think the latrine is where the mice hold their council meetings. Little mouse poopies all over. And a beetle. This thing, it's definitely not Kevlar. It's still got some weight to it. On my way through a very brushy portage to Echo Lake. There's one tree in the path that I'll have to step over. Otherwise, it's pretty short. About 30 rods. A rod is basically a length of a canoe. And I'm over the tree. That's about the halfway point. Now down the hill to Echo. Hopefully come home with some fish. If not, maybe I'll see the family of otters that we saw here last time. That was fun. It's exhausting, but fun. We had a headwind the whole way coming back across Echo Lake, which is a very long lake, long, skinny lake. And this family of otters kept swimming in front of us and looking back and chirping at us. It's like they were encouraging us. You can do it, you can do it. It's very cool. All right, There's the shore. If I can get this down gracefully, then I'll call it a success. All right. Here goes. Okay, I'll call it a success. I dropped the phone at the end, but it came down nice. I strapped the paddles to the sides of the canoe. One there, one here. On the way back, I think I'll put it blade facing backward because this was kind of flopping in my face the whole time on the way down. But I made it to Echo. There it is. Long little lake. There's Echo Island out there. Loon nested on there last time. We'll see if it's there this time. I'm not going to go on the island this time like I did before. It'd be a little treacherous with one person. But I'll go fish it. Echo Lake. I made it through the portage. It's a rough put in. Lots of rocks, but really nowhere to put the canoe down gently. Just kind of got to force it through, which I didn't like doing with this nice cedar strip canoe. If it was the Blue Beast, I wouldn't mind, or a Kevlar, it'd be easy to just walk it over all the rocks, but this thing kind of in between. It's not as light as a Kevlar, but not as durable as the Blue Beast. Of course, it's about half the weight of the Blue Beast. Not as light as Kevlar, but it's a nice medium. Like Mario in Mario Kart. Just kind of good at everything. And boy, is it fast with the double-bladed paddle. All right, I'm gonna head to Echo Island and see if anybody's home there, loons or fish. Just wanted to show you my dining room while I wait for dinner to finish. It's the dock, but it's also the dining room because it's away from the mosquitoes and I get this view. I love it here. Can't wait to come back. It's bedtime on the last night in Boundary Waters. Had an adventure of a day. I climbed to the summit near camp and saw the whole lake. I went to Echo Lake, did the first portage with the canoe, the solo canoe, and saw the loon nest on the island in the middle of Echo. Then went out for an evening paddle back here at camp in North Bay, and a pair of loons let me get within 10 feet of them and film and take as many photos as I wanted. It was pretty cool. They were very tolerant, and I've rarely gotten that close to a loon. Ready to head out in the morning. I'll eat breakfast, pack up camp, and then cut south across the lake to the entry point. Signing off. All right, got camp cleared. Less trash left behind than when I got here. I found a empty cola can in the woods and a bunch of little scraps. And then, of course, the nail clipper and the jig down by and in the water. The boat's loaded up down there. Ready to head home. Thanks, North Bay. You were amazing. In the boat, loaded up. Headed out of the tail of North Bay. And straight across, past 2 islands, into the Narrows, to the truck. It is 5 minutes to 9. Let's see how long a trip this is. I'm betting 30 minutes. The speed of this boat and the double blade, I think I'll get there pretty quick. Blue Lake was amazing as always. See you soon.